Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. It's the start of the shooting season and we've got a packed programme. Coming up, great fishing. We're after a Westcountry Macnab, that's a brownie, a bass and the big one, a sea trout. Game fair gadgets. We were at the CLA Game Fair to look at some truly innovative kit. And grrr, the hunting act. How do you get around it? We go hunting with cats. But first, grouse. Are there any? Let's find out. This bird is a keystone conservation species. It binds fragile country communities together. It's great for poor rural economies and it is superbly challenging to shoot. We ask 3 people closest to the grouse what to expect this season. The gamekeeper, the scientist and the sporting agent. First, the man on the ground. Ian Hepburn is keeper on a 13,000-acre Highland estate.
Yeah, the counts in general are reasonable, as you say. I was bothered with heather beetle a few years ago and thankfully the heather's coming back from that, so they're spreading out a bit more. We had a couple of years there, drives we can see from here that were completely destroyed by heather beetle, but the grouse is spreading back into them, the plants are coming back and the grouse are moving back into them. So we've got a general spread of grouse. As we all know, crows are lethal on eggs, chicks, and they'll just wipe out. Any eggs that they find or come across, they'll just wipe out that nest. That's absolutely guaranteed.
And so on this estate, have you've got a wide spread of other birds as well as grouse?
We do, yeah. Lower down, lots of lapwings, curlews, which you can just about contribute straightly to the controlling crow numbers. Years ago, before the lashing cage, we were limited what we could do to control crows, and since we got the lashing cage, they've been a huge benefit to us and lots of estates in the Highlands. Well, the mainstay of the beaters, thankfully, are local. A very lucky situation where everybody mingles in together, and it culminates in a great day out. They a bit of payment for the local youngsters. Some of them cycle here, and some of them get their parents drop them off, and you can see the ones that are coming for the first time, the expectation, fear on their face, what's happening, and what have you. And it's great because we now know their brothers have been coming, and then they're young, and it's gone on for generations. It's not something new, that it's always happened in this area.
Now the boffin. Cathy Fletcher is one of the country's leading grouse researchers. She works for the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust at its Upland Research Unit in the Dromochta Hills of Scotland.
Well, I was involved with the upland predation experiment which we were running in Northumberland, and we were looking at the impact of predator control on a range of ground nesting birds. We already knew that grouse benefited from predator control, predator management. We wanted to know what impact we had on, or doing predator control had on other species. So we were monitoring curlews, lapwings, golden plover, species, those wading birds that are generally in decline across the UK. And we wanted to find out whether predator control had any benefits. And indeed, we did find that there was a 3-fold improvement in their breeding success when you had a keeper doing his job on the hill. You walk across a grouse moor and you will hear a lot more during the spring. All the birds will be singing and it's evocative of grouse moors. But you do go to areas that are not managed for grouse and it's a lot quieter and you just don't see the birds. We have so many projects that we'd like to do, and obviously money is always a problem, there's never enough. But this research is helping answer questions that people want to know the answers to so that they can manage estates or land in general to benefit wider biodiversity.
And the middleman. Lackey Smith is one of the most popular sporting agents in Scotland, especially in the run-up to the grouse shooting season.
I know as a sporting agent that the spin-off from a good grouse year has many assets. I mean, for instance, people are initially travelling into the country in groups of 8s and 10s to actually shoot. And what you will find is, out of the group of 8 people from the sporting angle, there's quite often others who will say, well, okay, I'm quite happy with a day off and play golf, and others will say, well, I quite fancy a stag or a day salmon fishing or whatever. Grouse shooting is become a universally accredited thing to do if you're an international hunter. And so where at one time huge amount of the people came from Britain, France, America, You can have things which resemble the United Nations often now, and many agents work together. I mean, an example that two of us have put together a good bit for this year, then joined with a third agent in the south. One of the guys who I contacted a Chilean agent, and you know, this is a completely now international flavour to put one team of guns together for three days. I don't at this point know which countries they're all coming from, but there are, I'm assured, 8 people coming. But they are from South America, they are from America, some are from the UK, and Lord alone knows where the rest are from.
So, a good year, not a great year, with ticks, disease and predators still the biggest killers of grouse. If it weren't for people like Iron, Cathy and Lackey, our moorlands would be deserts. Now from feather to fin, welcome to pasty country. As we all know, Devon is home to wet beaches and a dumpling-shaped people who eat too much of this stuff. But that's what makes it attractive to holidaymakers in their tens of thousands. There's a more discerning summer tourist, however. There's the fly fisher, and they come here because there's more variety of fly fishing here than probably anywhere in the UK. We're here to see how the Arundel Arms can deliver a sea trout, a brown trout, a salmon and a sea bass all in one day. It's a clotted cream Macnab. If anyone can do it, it's David Pilkington. He's the head river keeper at the Arundel Arms, a mecca for UK's fly fishermen. He's been looking after their 20 miles of river for more than 30 years.
We've got fishing rights on 20 miles on 7 different rivers, so we've got an awful lot of water. And the salmon and the sea trout beats in particular we try to maintain to a reasonably good standard. So we've got ladders and seats and steps and stiles and footbridges and bits and pieces which need constant maintenance, which we do our very best to do. We do the bulk of it in the winter and just little tidying up jobs in the summer, but we're very busy most of the summer teaching and looking after the fishermen, so we don't have that much time for it in the summer.
That's mending line. Little flick upstream like that.
Already it's not looking good for our Macnab. The water is too coloured to go night sea trout fishing, so David will have to try to catch one by day. But first on his list is the salmon, and for this he's bringing out the big guns.
This is a deadly killer. Always make my own flies. I've made them since I was 11, which is a very long time ago now. Not just for reasons of economy, although that is relevant, but because you can produce a fly that's exactly as you think it should be, and that fly is exactly as I think it should be for this water. As you can see, I like black. These are all my night sea trout stuff and my daytime dirty water flies. Don't look at that, that's not the act of a gentleman. As long as it's big and black and hairy, it'll catch your fish, especially in this water.
It's not the best of starts. The river is running high after some heavy rainfall, so we're off downstream. So, in David's opinion, which of the clotted cream Macnab is the most exciting?
It would have to be the sea trout, yes. The most exciting fish we have. Still mysterious. We failed to catch sea trout for no particular reason at all. I was fishing a few days ago, and in the course of a day's fishing we caught 5 sea trout in the space of half an hour, and nothing before, nothing after. And I was out on my own twice recently and had 2 fish on virtually consecutive casts, and they were the only 2 fish I had in the whole day's fishing. And if I knew why, I'd be worth a fortune.
Still no joy, but thankfully David's brought backup. Tim Smith is a new appointment to the river keeping team at the Arundel Arms, and he catches a small trout. It's one of our list ticked off, but he's still after a salmon. David also starts bringing in the trout, but he's not hopeful. We decide to grab a pasty and head to the coast for sea bass. What a contrast in location and luck.
Isn't he a beautiful little fish? Watch him go back in the water now. Wait.
Even I catch one within 30 seconds. It's great fun, but we have to have a healthy respect for the flood tide. David and Tim are also doing well, and David has designed a fly especially for this fish.
Deadly.
The foam body is actually made from lobster pot floats that I find washed up on the tide line. Make a circular body, a tubular body out of them, and stick it on the hook with a little angled face so it pops. And I've caught my biggest bass there, a fish of 6 pounds on a popper. There's a small volcanic eruption out in the end of the water on your line. It's good, yeah.
See the fish come to it, look, and he's took it.
Tim is also a big fan of catching bass with the fly.
People would lead you to believe that it's a newfangled thing. Well, the Victorians were actually fly fishing for bass. So it's in that respect, it's not a new thing. And I mean, it depends how much time you put to it. I mean, this chap sitting to the right of me, he's got 11 different species in the sea.
On the fly?
On the fly, yeah, on the fly. So it's a whole new world, certainly to me. I mean, I've fly fished in the sea for maybe 6 years, 5-6 years. David for over 10 now. But again, you're just scraping the surface, to be quite honest, with a fly rod.
What a day of contrasts, from the little river Lyd to the vast North Devonshire coast. Back at the Arundel Arms we find a sea trout on the platter. With our trout and bass, we can call it 3 out of 4. The full clotted cream Macnab might have eluded us, but we've had a fabulous day's fishing.
Definitely.
The main reason David and Tim achieve what they do is their years of experience as river keepers. Another reason is the excellence of their kit. And where does everybody go for great kit? They go to the CLA Game Fair. This year the CLA is celebrating with an award for innovation. We went along to see the runners and the riders. Crowds on a warm summer's day with a blast-off country house in the background. We must be at the CLA Game Fair. This is one of the few events in the year when skinflint country folk, that's you, unbutton your wallets and start spending. Every year, stand holders launch a range of new products of dazzling ingenuity. We're here to seek out a few of them. I'm here with David Lyles, who's up for an Innovation Award at the CLA Game Fair. David, what have we got here?
This is a trailer that we've designed to cope with the people that haven't got a pickup truck. What we've tried to do is to arrive at a situation where you can take a quad bike to the scene, recover the deer with the quad bike in the trailer, and then when you bring the deer back on the trailer to your estate car or whatever you're going to take it back home, you're able to mount the quad bike over the top of the deer, protecting the deer from any ingress of dirt and bad hygiene.
Retail price?
Retail price is going to be about $16.50.
To me?
$16.50.
Still $16.50. David Lyles, thank you very much indeed for showing us that.
Set myself when I started this project was I wanted to deliver 2 things. One was to deliver the biggest arbor on the market, which makes the reel wider, and that also allows for a faster line retrieve and less memory on your fly line. But by making something larger, it usually makes something heavier. But we've actually managed to do the reverse, and because of such a stringent design process, we've actually got the reel lighter, and it's now the lightest reel, but it's the largest reel, so it's a pretty good marry of the two.
The most innovative thing about this is it's a standalone unit.
So you can plug it anywhere?
You can situate this anywhere outside, you know. It's fully weatherproof, it can be relocated depending on, you know, if there's population explosions of deer anywhere. All you need on site is electricity and water. We're designing this around a Forestry Commission spec, and we've got 2 potential clients for it, the Ministry of Defence and the Forestry Commission.
So, if you're a deer and you see one of these things coming to the wood near you...
You don't want to be anywhere near it.
Don't worry. Jonathan Visser, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Well, the Game Fair's in full swing. We're now going to look at the prize winners. I'm with Margaret Chater. You've won the runner-up award for this. What is it?
It's called the New Drywick dog bed. If your dog comes in wet and dirty, you can just sit on the bed and the moisture will just evaporate out of the sides.
So dog wet goes in top and Argo draws it out,
That's
the size.
right, yes.
And what's your retail price for this? Actually, we've got it here, haven't
Retail, medium 70, large 80.
we? Worth every penny.
Yes.
Margaret, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we're here with Steve Gray of Turner Richards, who has won the Innovations Award at the CLA Game Fair 2009.
What I do when I'm setting this up, have the dogs to sit and stay at the side of me, and then once it's set up, lay the cord out on the floor, walk away from everything with the dogs, walk back to it, get them to sit and stay at the point where the loop is on the floor, put your foot into the loop, move your leg backwards, and the launcher is activated.
Fabulous. And price, retail price?
It's going on the market today at £60.
60, very nice.
Yeah.
Well done for winning the CLA Innovations Award.
Thank you very much indeed. Vincent Hedley-Lewis, Chairman of the Game Fair Board. Have you've been presenting the prizes for the innovations at the Game Fair. You've got a device for drying your dog and a device for fooling your dog. Now,
yes.
There's quite a dog theme here, isn't there, in the winners?
Last year, it was a person in the timber trade won it, and the wheelie bin won it last year as well. So it goes right across the board. We have entries from anybody who has a stand here, is exhibiting, and their product has to have been launched this year. These two products have both been launched at the Game Fair today. We'd love to have more entries because the CLA find that this is the sort of thing we want to encourage in the countryside.
Well, it shows what a fantastic breadth of coverage the CLA Game Fair has. And Vincent Hedley-Lewis, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
That's all right, thank you.
Some products are ingenious, some products are innovative, and some are simply irresistible. Now, one argument everyone was having at the Game Fair is whether this will be the last one before the government repeal the ban on hunting. We've been off to see how people are getting round that ban by giving it the bird with a bird and cheating it with a cheetah. This is Bomani. He is a 2-year-old male cheetah and the fastest mammal on the planet. He's one of God's most beautiful creations, and today he's wowing the crowds at Eagle Heights Wild Animal Park in the south of England.
Bomani was hand-raised here at Eagle Heights from the age of 3 months. He was bred in a Tier park in Germany, basically another zoo. And we bought him and he came over at 3 months old.
Thanks to the persistence of his owners, he's one of the only captive bred cats that can actually fill his lungs and demonstrate his incredible speed. It's over in seconds, but it's as close as this top predator is going to get to the real thing. Or is it? Tony Blair's Hunting Act is toothless, it's flouted all over the country, and all it's proved so far is you can't prosecute a hound. If the Conservatives deliver on their manifesto election promise, it should be history by July 2010. We went to see Tim Bonner at the Countryside Alliance and asked him if he can see a light at the end of the tunnel and an end to this ridiculous piece of legislation.
I think this summer we've seen perhaps the most extraordinary meeting of all was the MFHA AGM back in June.
That's the Masters of Foxhounds.
That's right, and the William Hague, who's in all but name the deputy leader of the Conservative Party, came along to that meeting and he gave absolute confirmation that if there was a working majority for the Conservatives, if there was a Conservative government, the bill to repeal the Hunting Act would be brought forward, and it would be brought forward speedily.
Something we ought to admit more often is that hunting is great fun. No excuses. The meets are social events that bind rural communities. Since 2005 it's been tough going, but after 4 years of working and playing within the law, the police say they'll no longer seek to prosecute huntsmen. The CPS have dropped charges and a hunt supporter has lost his life. If the situation weren't so tragic, it would be laughable. In reality, most hunts are continuing much as normal. Foxes are still being killed, but they're being killed accidentally. And the publicity surrounding the ban means more people are going hunting than ever before. It just goes to show, where there's a will, there's a way. And that's why people try and exploit loopholes, such as hunts inviting birds of prey out for a day's hack across the fields as a way of sidestepping the law, much to the disappointment of the falconers.
We deplore hunts who use this as a loophole because we don't believe they have A, the skill, or B, the motive to use the birds they're using as a loophole to actually conduct themselves properly.
It wasn't just the foxes that the ban's proponents were hoping to save. Anti-hunt groups claim it has saved the 250 hares a year that Britain's coursing clubs killed. That's something that Alan Ames misses. He doesn't have lurchers anymore, but he and his son Johnny do have a cheetah. So where does young Bermani sit within the ACT, what with him being a CAT and not a DOG? Well, we were invited by Alan to film something a bit different. We're in a deer farm in Essex to see Bermani rekindle his instincts, and it's all perfectly legal. Johnny and Bermani are as close as man and cat can be. So why is he teaching Bermani about hunting? Johnny knows what he can do within the strict laws that govern ownership of such an exotic animal, but he also wants to give his cat a chance to enjoy its natural instincts. It's not as easy as you'd think. This cat is more bag puss than bag hearer. It's an uphill struggle for Johnny. There's a rabbit over there. No, thanks. Not today, but thanks. There's another one over there. No, I don't think I will. We tried it in daytime. We tried it in the evening. We practically tried it at night. And then Bermani called for his bed. I think I'll have a little lie down. His bed's actually a kind of comfort blanket for him. We're at a deer park in Essex. What are you trying to achieve today?
Well, all we want to do is start really learning how to teach a cheetah to hunt. I mean, the idea is Bermani's obviously been hand-reared and is very, friendly with us. But what we hope to do one day is breed and release cheetahs into the wild in Africa. So in order to do it, we thought it would be good to have a good bit of practice before we leave. So by coming here, it's a great way for us to experiment and to actually see what it involves training the cheetah to hunt. So if I spend a long time teaching Bermani, he can be the one that will teach the future cubs how to hunt in the wild.
Yeah. Has he ever seen a wild rabbit before, Alan?
Not until the other day. I mean, he's eaten plenty of them,
yeah,
but I don't think he actually knows what they are.
He knows the smell, doesn't he?
He knows the smell.
You can see him doing the bushes up and down the
yeah,
side there.
but I don't think he actually relates the rabbits that he's fed from a freezer to the ones that are hopping around in that field out there.
Going back to Africa, the conservation side of it, cheetahs are threatened status at the moment.
Yeah, cheetahs are an endangered species. There was 100,000 cheetahs left in the wild about 100 years ago, and today it's about 12,500 left. So the numbers have dropped so quickly. This is why we think if we're going to bother having cheetahs in captivity, then we should really make the next step forward and start trying to release captive bred cubs, or I don't see there being any point in breeding cheetahs anyway.
As a last resort, Johnny decides to drag some of Bermani's food on a string behind the car. And that finally gets him moving. It took a major government inquiry and 700 hours of parliamentary time to ban fox hunting. It'll take a morning's work to repeal the ban. The law is a laughing stock in the countryside, and a repeal can't come soon enough. As we discovered earlier, grouse are not guaranteed. Pheasant, duck and partridge by comparison pretty well are. Since the spring, we've been following the hard work that goes into producing the birds that you'll be shooting later in the year.
It's the beginning of April and it's flat pack hell at Canal Game Farm. In 3 weeks' time, the first partridge arrive, and there's still half of the 100 brooder huts to erect, disinfect and kit out as well as finish setting up the gas-elect heating and lighting systems in the poultry houses.
Last September we took all the sheds down, disinfect them, washed them, jet wash, power wash with a steam cleaner as well. Put the sheds away inside our poultry houses, the large poultry houses, to protect them from the elements, and then get them up again this year, erect them, and then we would disinfect them once they're up and standing.
Francis Briley threw himself into the game farm business 4 years ago, and things have gone incredibly well, doubling in size year on year. They'll soon be nurturing 100,000 pheasants, 50,000 partridge and 20,000 duck. It's a physically and emotionally exhausting job, so is Fran looking forward to hearing the patter of tiny feet?
Yeah, we're waiting for the birds really. All you are hoping is that you can get through the next few weeks and get the birds in, put them in the sheds and get on, then you look forward to them going, to be perfectly honest.
It's like a pleasure pain thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. The sooner they're here, the quicker they're gone. That's it.
Canal Game Farm supply shoots all over the country with a variety of game birds, but in Fran's opinion, which is the easiest one to rear?
Pedigree birds, the pure strain, blacknecks, common ringnecks and the Byzantes have all reared a lot better than crosses, whether that's due to their makeup and that they are kept in close flocks and reared from, I don't know, but they have reared a hell of a lot better.
Over the next few weeks, we'll give you an insight into the world of the game farm, taking you from the arrival of the first hatchlings through to the first shoot day.
A blade of grass, a squeaky duck, and a Barry White CD. Now, which one's the odd one out? Well, if I said it was about animal attraction, it should give you a clue. And if I mentioned the roebuck rut, you should be on it, because these two work on attracting lovesick roebucks, and this can do the same for your love life. Now, my colleague David has been off to see a man who speaks the language of love better than most. Yes!
It's 4:30 in the morning and we're off out on a date. Of course, there's every chance we'll be stood up, but one of our party, John Tobin, has raw animal magnetism, so we could get lucky. It's that time of year when the Roe Deer Rut is in full swing and things go a little bit bonkers. John manages deer on 1,000 acres of farmland on the Hampshire-Surrey borders, and he's agreed to show us how to call for these hormone-fuelled animals. He sends his friend Roy Lupton to set up in the first high seat of the morning. A few well-delivered calls and a lustful yearling appears across the field. Another few bring him charging towards us. Roy drops it with a textbook shot to the heart.
No, as I say, I mean, that was, you know, I mean, that's exactly the sort of buck we wanted. You know, it's one buck. But, I mean, there's a good buck here in this territory, and we were hoping we might be able to call him out. But obviously this little fellow was having a wander around on the outskirts of the territory and responded very well to the call. So,
incredible, it's just sort of like...
I mean, it's a fantastic time of year, and when you see them, you know, come steaming in like that, it's yeah, it's absolutely awesome. It really gets the old hair standing up on the back of your neck, doesn't it?
After an efficient gralloch, we're off to another position, and we grab a moment to discover what John does to make the deer's heart sing.
You start off with a little soft little call, which hopefully imitates a youngster, and the theory is that a doe or a young deer will come to find the youngster that's been put down by its mother, probably while they're off rutting. If that doesn't work, then you increase to a doe call, and again, hopefully that either brings a doe or it brings the buck. What we haven't got to yet is the distress call, which is more like that, which tells the buck that I'm ready and waiting. That can be the difference between a deer appearing to ignore the call and then
really reacting. I mean, one thing I tend to do is keep it rhythmic with a heartbeat. So it's having once had a young doe come under a tower I was in and bleat for about 20 minutes. So we just mimic that. But other than that, I genuinely would love to think that it's all talent, but I don't think it is.
As we position ourselves next to an expectant pheasant pen, we spot a buck. But this time there's a doe with him. There might be some competition for his attention, so John turns on the charm offensive. Roy even has to bark at the buck to make him stop in his tracks. He's another beautiful deer, and he's still got plenty of fat on him. The rut leaves many buck exhausted and low on reserves, but he's fit and unscathed. His antlers are in perfect condition. So why did he fancy John more than the doe he was dining with? Well, believe it or not, he's sexier. Not to look at, just the voice. You could call it the Alison Moyet or Adele effect.
I've got to say that sometimes the doe puts up a defence and you know, makes a real point of trying to stop the buck from leaving her. She didn't seem to worry too much. So whether she was fully receptive or whether he's just hanging out with her waiting, I don't know. But then I don't really know what this is all about. It just happens. But it was stunning.
No, it was a fantastic call. It really, really was beautiful to see him coming across that.
What do you think? It's only 10 to 6 now. We've run out of Land Rover.
It was definitely worth getting up at 2:30.
The farmers allow deer on their land, but it's down to John and his call to keep the numbers at an acceptable level. And the rut is the perfect chance to thin the numbers. But is it sport or management?
It is management, but clearly we all enjoy it. We're lucky enough to work, there's 3 farms here, we're lucky enough to work for 3 farmers that are deer tolerant. So we're allowed to leave as many deer as we think is right. So hopefully we'll always maintain a good healthy stock. Some farmers, I'm afraid, think 2 deer's a herd and want everyone killed, but lucky here there's a good herd of deer.
Eventually we cook up a well-deserved breakfast, including some fresh liver. It's a great end to the morning and to experience the Roe's silly season, when things go a bit crazy and the deer throw caution to the wind and are charmed by the talents of a stalker with rhythm. Now we wait for October, when the whole process starts again for red deer.
That is the best of British hunting, shooting and fishing on this, the glorious 12th of August 2009. Next week, watch our country sports debate programme, Shooting Politics. Fieldsports Britain is back in 2 weeks' time with news of the white roebuck that hit the newspapers earlier in the year. Has he been shot? We are the antidote to Countryfile.